Hi everyone, welcome into this week's My Weekly CBS Fix. I hope you had a great week. I'd like to dedicate this week's video to my parents. Mazel tov to you on your 46th anniversary, many more years in health and happiness. This week's Parsha, Parshas Terumah. The Torah tells us about the different vessels that were put into Hashem's holy house, the Mishkan, which is representations of Hashem's Shekhinah, of Hashem's presence amongst us. And it lets us know that we are one with Hashem, and He not only lives up there in the heavens, but He lives down here on earth as well. And when the Torah talks about the Aron, the holy ark, so the verse says over there, "But tabos ha'aron yiyu abadim lo yasuru memenu." In the rings of the ark, the poles, the badim should be there, the poles, and you cannot remove them, which meant if you had a box, the aron was about 2.5 amos by 1.5 amos. So there were 4 rings on the corners, 2 over here and 2 over here, and there was a pole put on between 2 on both sides. And those poles, the badim, are what carried the aron. The Torah is saying once the poles are put into those rings, they can never be removed. The Chavetz Chaim used to explain that what's the representation of the badim? The badim wasn't the actual part of the ark. It was something that was inserted later into the rings to be able to carry the ark. So the Chavetz Chaim explains that the badim represent the people that couldn't learn Torah on their own. They couldn't learn Torah on their own. So what do? They support the Torah, because what would they do with the badim? What do you do with the poles? There's 2 people on either end. That's 4 people total. And they would lift the aron wherever it needed to go, except the Medrash actually tells us the aron used to carry them, not the reverse, which means if you give your life over to Torah, Torah will carry you and not you're supporting Torah. But the idea is once the badim were put in place, they couldn't be removed. And that the badim represented that person that couldn't learn Torah. And he shouldn't think, I have no portion in Torah, there's nothing I can do. The Torah says, no, once you're attached to it and once you support it, by giving money towards it and helping others learn, you have a portion in their Torah learning. And therefore, once they were put in, they can never be removed. And whatever merit and portion the righteous people have in the world to come, those who supported them are with them in their same mechitza, they're right there in their same portion, studying Torah together with them. The word bad means alone. Who's alone? Somebody who feels he's not giving anything towards Torah. And the Torah is saying over here that if you put yourself together with the Torah learners and you support the Torah, you'll have a portion along with them. This week's parsha is also Parsha Zachor. We have a mitzvah to remember that we have a mitzvah to wipe out Amalek. They're the nation that came and attacked the Jewish people when they came out of Israel, and when they came out of Egypt. And the pasuk says, "Vayavei Amalek came v'yilachem im Yisrael b'Refidim." And they waged war with the Jewish people in Refidim. Why the town of Refidim? So our sages expound on them, and they say, Sherafi Yudeim in Torah, because their hands became weaker from Torah. The less we hold on to Torah, the more susceptible we are to the dangers that surround us, from the nations around us, and from the viruses around us, from whatever it is. We have to know that this is our DNA. This is who we are. This is what we breathe. This is our life. This is not like a Hasidic vart or a deep Kabbalistic vart. This is the basics of who we are as Jewish people. The more we hold on to Torah, and the more, like we said till now, the more if we can represent Torah by supporting Torah, that is what we hold on to. That is our oxygen. That is our air. That's what we live on. And if we do that, so then we merit to be able to have the mitzvah of waging war against Amalek, wiping out the people that are trying to have us not do it, and we're able to merit to have a portion with Hashem in the world to come. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Next Friday is Purim. We'll hopefully speak about the holiday of Purim. Thank you for listening. Good Shabbos.